Hello everybody, welcome to the John Hardy Show. It's great to be with you once again. Today I'm going to be giving you 5 tips on how you can really realign your planning for what's coming up in front of you. And I've got some really outstanding guests with me, and I want to introduce to you in just a little while Greg Liddelow from Bellinus, and it's going to be a great show. Looking forward to sharing with you. Stay tuned. Hello everybody, it's the John Hardy Show, and we're starting our show with Greg Liddelow from Bellinus, and it's really great to have you, Greg, in the studio today.
Thanks, John.
We've been trying to work on this for a fair while.
Yes. Yep.
And get you in the show to help us understand what you do. So tell us a little bit of the background of Bellinus, because that's quite an interesting name to start with.
Yes, I'm an electrical contractor, and I pretty much specialise in installing solar, and Bellinus is a Celtic god of the sun.
Cool. So how did you actually pick that originally?
Well, we were going to go with Ra, which is the Egyptian god of the sun, but I have a lot of Celtic heritage, so that seemed to be the better choice.
Very cool. So, and how long have you been in business?
I've been a contractor since 2010.
Okay. So it's a fair while.
Yes.
And you've actually grown from contracting to actually running a fairly interesting business now.
Yeah, we've been taking small steps for a number of years and adding staff and expanding and taking on bigger and bigger projects, and things are starting to get exciting.
Yeah. So tell us what you've learned over that time as a business contractor, then as a business owner, and then as a business leader, because there's some quite interesting stages in that.
Right, okay. That's a pretty broad question.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I learnt my trade.
Yeah.
And when you qualify, you think, towards the time that you actually qualify, you think, okay, I'm set, I can go. But once you've earned your trade and you start your own business, you start contracting, you start learning exponentially in a variety of different ways.
Yep. Because there's a difference, isn't it, between being a tradie and actually having a business?
Yes. Yes. It's great to have the baseline, which is to know your trade.
Yeah.
But when you start dealing with people and quoting and trying to market and employ staff, trying to recognise the strengths that your staff have and get the best out of them and make the business profitable, you wear a lot of hats.
Yes, you do. Yeah. What's the easiest hat that you like wearing?
Well, the hat that I would like to wear would be the successful businessman on holiday in Europe.
All right, okay.
But, wow. You have to, because you have so many tasks, and I'm not quite at the situation where I can employ a lot of office staff.
Yep.
I'm constantly changing through the day in the different roles that I do. So there's not one real predominant hat at the moment.
Yeah.
But I would like to concentrate on developing the business primarily, and having the right staff structure in place for the business to run on its own.
So we've been working together for a couple of years now. So tell me the difference that you've seen in having a coach in your room and not having a coach.
Well, the biggest difference is, as I said before, there are so many different tasks that you have to undertake every day that it's very easy to get lost in the detail and lose the overall picture. So by having a coach such as yourself come in once a month, it helps you regain your focus.
Yeah. And
even if you've been a little bit preoccupied and you haven't done your homework from session to session, the next session does help you refocus.
Yes.
And concentrate on where you need to develop your business and what steps you need to take and what you need to be prepared for.
Yes. And you've actually deliberately been working on moving yourself, in a sense, off the tools and into the office.
Yep.
And that's been a fairly deliberate choice of yours. So you release your team, but you also release yourself. So how is that actual process happening for you, and how comfortable are you?
It's a work in progress, but it's becoming more and more easy as I get along. We've had a few setbacks from time to time, as all businesses do, which means I have to take a step backwards and sort a few things out before I can push forward again. But I guess once you've found staff that you can recognise their talents and make use of their talents in a good way, that sets you up to take the next step.
Yeah.
So that, at the moment, I'd say would be the key factor for me.
Yeah, it's finding the right staff that can deliver to you and your standards that you want. So tell us a little bit about how you've done that, because that's a fairly important conversation we've had on a regular basis about the standard and the quality of work. So how did you decide on that space?
Okay, I did a mature age apprenticeship, so I was 40 when I did my electrical apprenticeship. And prior to that, I'd had experience with customer service and management and a variety of different roles in different businesses. So I approached my business from the standpoint of providing customer service. And everybody that has come in that I've employed so far has recognised that, and that's the way they apply themselves in the business as well. So I'm really comfortable with them representing my company to clients, and I know they're not going to let me down. I have had staff which I've employed on a temporary basis from outside, and I've found they've brought in some old-fashioned ideas of what tradesmen are, which has created a few problems for me, but I've overcome those.
It's really interesting, the power of customer service and the difference it actually makes in the marketplace. And it's opened up interesting options for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It's really good when your client rings you and says, I was very impressed with the staff that came out, how they handled themselves, and we mostly didn't even know that they were here. Yeah, so that of course leads to word of mouth recommendations. Which is the best form of advertising there is. Nothing beats a personal recommendation from one of your clients.
And they find it, because they're delivering customer service, they actually want to deliver a good product, which is really interesting, the power of what that actually does when we put the customer first. And so how do you spend that time with your team in having that conversation about customer service, quality of work, etc.?
Well, to this point, I haven't actually sat them down and given them the goal of how they present themselves to clients and what customer service is all about. So, because I've been a very small operator, so far it's been leading by example. So they've learnt on the job, and that's just how they present themselves. Because they haven't worked for anybody else, so they don't know anything different. And they just think that's what they need to do when they're on site.
And this is really important, that leaders in business set the cultural tone. Which is what you've done. By the way you've modelled it, by the way you speak, by the way you interact. And they've learned from you, maybe been accidental, but you know, there is some deliberate learnings going on. And you were deliberate in how you've gone about your work. So have they given you any feedback about how they've learnt and developed as people and how they deliver their service?
No.
Okay.
They haven't, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would be an interesting question to talk to them about how they've learnt and how they appreciate giving the kind of customer service, you know, to the clients that, you know, they're representing you on.
Yeah. I do remember during one of our sessions, we had some of our staff in.
That's right.
And you asked them, what do you think your employer values most? And they all said how they present themselves to the client. And that was without any prompting from me. So
so they've got it, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
They've got your cultural setting. So, you know, it really is interesting. So far, customer service is really important, and culture. And culture comes from the top. If it doesn't come from the top, it will come in from somewhere else, and they'll dictate terms. But you're very strong in that place, that you know what it is that you want your team to deliver on your behalf.
Yeah, I'm big on promoting from within.
Yes.
And developing talent from within.
Yes.
And I'm almost loath now to take on outside employees because they bring with them bad habits.
Yes.
And you can spend a lot of time ridding them of those bad habits.
Yes.
And in that time, they can infect your staff, which it just takes you backwards.
So, customer service culture, is there any other key component for you that you've found in businesses being critical?
They are the two key things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you work hard, don't you? So tell me about this diligence that you have, that I've noticed about you and the way you run your business.
We're very particular on the way we do our installs.
Mm-hmm.
We're always conscious of standards that you have to work to, and the fact that you're working in a private residence quite often, or a business, and people there don't want to be disturbed by your activities, especially if you're working in a business. They basically want to be able to go about whatever they're doing undisturbed, and that's what we aim to do, and we carry that out, and we always get comments at the end of an install as to how we went.
That's fantastic. Now, you've just completed a fairly big project. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was on a shopping centre.
Yeah. And how big was it?
That was a megawatt. That was 3,000 panels.
Wow. And how long did that project take?
That took 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what's that done for you in your business now?
Well, it's given me the confidence to take on projects of that size.
Yeah.
It's developed some contacts for me through necessity to get that particular project out of the way, which I can use going forward to take on more projects of that size.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So businesses can't do necessarily business just by themselves, can they?
No.
So tell me about that. I call it leveraging.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about what that space looks like for you now.
Well, I was under a fair amount of pressure to get that job delivered on time, and I had to call in some outside contractors who I was very pleased with and worked very well with, and now I can use them going forward on larger projects with confidence that I know that we're going to be able to deliver the product on time and on spec.
Yeah. And you've actually been approached to continue to build in that space, haven't you?
Yes, I've done a few more site surveys for projects of that size and larger.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. So how many people in Perth, so we live in Perth, Western Australia,
Yep.
How many people in business in Perth can actually handle those kind of projects?
Look, to be honest, I couldn't say.
Yeah.
I only know of one other company that's done a project of that size in the metro area.
Yeah.
Recently.
Okay, so you kind of got some uniquenesses about your business that helps you, when businesses position themselves in the marketplace. That's a unique story to tell, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So what's your hope and dream for the business? Apart from the blue sky, I know we want blue sky, but what's, the next couple of years, what do you think it might look like?
Well, I hope to expand to a certain point. I don't want to become a large business. I'm getting on into my mid-50s, so I will be looking at a succession plan and taking a reduced role in future. Mm-hmm. So I have some family members coming into the business, which is good. It's
really good, yeah.
Yeah.
So what is one lesson that you've learned well that you would share with our viewing audience and listening audience that could be helpful for them in businesses? Because we touch base with a lot of businesses around the world.
Right, get a coach.
Well,
seriously,
thank you.
Get a coach.
That's really cool.
Because, you can really lose sight of what your objective is and get yourself into difficult situations, and then find yourself going backwards at a rate of knots. So, having a coach really helps in that regard.
Well, thank you very much for that. And that was unprompted, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Yep. So I appreciate the genuineness of that. Is there any other other business principle that you know, if I keep doing this, it really will help me and it will help other businesses?
Marketing.
Yes. Yeah.
Marketing is the key.
Yeah.
No sales, no business.
Yeah.
And marketing is changing, or has changed drastically in the last 5 years, and it's going to continue to change. So you need the right contacts to get your marketing right.
Yes. And being adaptable in the marketing world, not doing the same thing, expecting different results, and the power of marketing is measure it. So you know what your marketing is actually doing, yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Especially in the changing environment. If you spend a lot of resources in one area and that becomes irrelevant, then you've not only wasted your resources, but you're losing sales and you're going backwards.
Yes. Well, Greg, it is great having you in the studio. That wasn't overly painful.
No, it wasn't.
No, it's pretty good, eh?
Yeah.
It really is good. So Greg is from Bellinus. It's a great business here in Western Australia and doing great installs in the solar industry and then expanding in the electrical contracting business here in Western Australia. Great to have you in the show. And I'm looking forward to sharing this with you so you can use this to tell your story in your marketing about what you're doing in business. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe.
Hello everybody, I love my show, which is the John Hardy Show, and I love answering questions for businesses anywhere in the world. And Desi from Florida has got an engineering business and asks a really interesting question about growing her business. She has 15 staff and she's wondering, would it help her business to have an advisory board to work with her to work on her business? Desi, absolutely. I do this in business, and there is levels of businesses where you need to bring in that extra input of people around and about our lives to help us wrestle with the concepts of business. And I know that the power of that, because as a coach, that's what businesses have done in bringing me into their world. They brought an advisor into their world to have a conversation with them. And I know that you're thinking of some very specific people that you want in your room. So let me tell you some research. We know people for about 30 to 35-year-olds are able to run the businesses quite effectively till they're around about that age. And then what happens is they'll either grow because they have brought advisors into their room, mentors, coaches, or an advisory board, and they will grow and the business will grow, or they will actually plateau and eventually decrease in their effectiveness. And they won't know that it's actually happening because it's a fairly slow process because they've simply flatlined and they haven't understood it. So Desi, you're asking a very, very powerful question that is relevant to businesses all over the world in what's going on in your business. Do you have an advisor? Do you have advisors? Do you have a coach? Do you have mentors? Do you have an advisory board that knows and understands your business and wants to work with you to help your business move forward? It really will help you dramatically impact your business. So the question then is, who should you have on that advisory board? Finance people are very helpful. Legal people are very helpful. Marketing people are very helpful. IT people can be very helpful. And so there's a range of experts in and around that space that you know will be meeting your need. And of course, in the engineering world that you are in, having a grey hair person who is an experienced engineer in your field, whether it be structural, mechanical, or whatever other dynamic of engineering that you're involved in, get a grey hair. Someone with experience, someone who's been around the traps, someone you can bring in and add that value to your board would be of great experience for you and great expression and help for you into your business. So business advisory boards are on the rise in the world that I'm working in, and so we're working in minimum $1.5 million turnover businesses and upwards. And larger businesses like that, we want to get advisory boards into them because we are working with them to expand them, grow them, put a 5-year strategic plan in place, and that's going to demand growth and opportunity for them, growth and opportunity for them as the business owner. And having an advisory board sitting alongside them, and they are accountable to them, they're having conversations both one-on-one and with the board in general, giving them the information of the business. So here's the other challenge that comes with that, Desi, is you need to be across your business like never before. You're going to need to be across your financials, across your marketing, across your business structure, across your accountability structure, your training. And you're going to need to generate information in executive summary format into your advisory board so they can know, read and understand your business and to be able then to advise you. So it might be a good idea, but unless you are prepared to put the work in and generate those kinds of informations that your advisory board will need, and it's not just the water cooler conversation, this is deliberate, focused, intent times and seasons where you will work with your advisory board to let them challenge your concepts, let them challenge your business planning, let them challenge your staff recruitment, let them challenge your marketing, let them challenge the structure of your finances, all to enhance so you can improve and set your business up for the growth that you know, can see and understand is going to happen. Desi, it will be a great step forward for you to do that. So, question is, should I have an advisory board? I would encourage you, absolutely, Desi. It'll be a great step forward and you will see the growth that you're looking for. Great question. Thank you so much. Hey everybody, I wonder whether you have this question. Put your prices up. I get that on a regular basis, and I had that just this week with a client who is actually in the coaching world like myself, and having the conversation around one of the dynamics of what she's actually doing in business. And it was really interesting. We actually workshopped as we walked through the session on 2 key things. One was her retreat and her retreat prices, and her coaching and her coaching prices. And it was really interesting walking through that process with her as she wrestled with the value that she's actually giving herself. I remember very early on, and I was scared as all get out, when my friend in business said to me, John, look in the mirror and value yourself and put your price up. And I'm fascinated how the dynamic of putting your prices up actually increases your growth in your business. And I've done that on a continuing basis in my business, and I'm growing, I'm getting more clients, and I'm getting a really interesting selection of clients. And when I say the price, they just say, okay, really cool. They don't balk. And I'm amazed all the time when I put my prices up, how people don't balk at actually what they're doing. Because here's the deal. They know and understand that you're good, you can deliver, they have a need or a pain or a difficulty or a problem or an obstacle, and they need to be relieved of that pain, and you are their solution. And so when you say this is what's going to happen, this investment will take place, this is how we'll go about doing it, and it will cost this much, they say, great, let's do it. And so this young lady I'm working with, great fun, working with her and understanding what she was trying to do on her retreat, what the value she actually was bringing to the people on the retreat, what they would get out of it, what they would go away with. And just, we worked through discussing the obstacles that she had, clarified them, set on a price and said, yeah, that feels right, good and proper, and I'm valuing myself, and I know I'm going to give value to those that are coming on the retreat. And then I asked her what would be her normal price that she would give in an interaction, in a coaching context. And this is the first words after she told me the price. She said, I think I should put my price up. And so then I told her what I would charge in the context of what we're doing. She didn't blink. The invoice has gone out. That'll get paid. And she's now wrestling with her value. And this is what we do when we put money on our businesses. We're actually putting value on who we are. And I love the fact that I've been in business long enough. I trust in what I'm doing. I've seen great outcomes. You'll see that on the people that I interview on my show. They're people that know me, like me and trust me. They're my clients as well. And they tell the story about the impact. And you'll see on this show, we asked Greg, a principal, and he said, get a coach. And I had no idea what he was going to answer the question with, but the power of what it does in knowing that you actually can deliver in that space is really amazing. So I know that this is a really important question. So let me tell you how it works. If you can increase your income strategy, your turnover by 1%, if you can decrease your cost of sales by 1%, if you can decrease your expenses, fixed and variable, by 1%, you will increase your profitability by 16 to 21% immediately. You just imagine if you put your price up by 5%, decrease your cost of sales by 5%, and decrease your expenses by 5%, the profitability that you are bringing into your room. Just imagine if you do that by 10%, 10% and 10%. Just imagine if you do that by 20%, 20%, 20%. Now, they might be a little bit unrealistic, but I can tell you this. If you begin to do the analysis of what the impacts it means of putting your price up, tightening what's going on with your costings, you will create a more profitable business overnight. And you'll think, why did I not do this sooner? So, you want to do business better? Put your prices up. Thank you so much for listening to me once again, so you really can do business better. And what I want you to do is, you'll see underneath, I want you to subscribe, because there's a whole bunch of great content coming to you all the time, so you really can do business better. You'll see the hyperlinks, go to them, they're there to help you. Hi everybody, I want to help you. That's been my long-term passion. I was talking with somebody yesterday and they were asking me, why do I do what I do? And I said this, I said, I love it. I want to help people do better in life. And I know that I can help them by being a coach and by being involved in their world and bringing the life that they're wanting to live into their world. So I thought I'd talk to you today as business owners about some 5 keys to get what you want. And I think it could really be helpful. There's simple phrases that I want to use for you to help you really think through how you might reorganize your own working space and how you might reorganize your world and what's going on around and about you. Because we get faced with those challenges on a regular basis. And so I wonder how you wonder about what's going on in your world. And so I'd like to drop these for you today, let them sit there. But I would like, because it's interesting, we're about here in WA, where I live in Perth, Western Australia, about to enter into spring. And in spring, we've had a really wet and coldish winter, and people have been indoors. And in spring in Australia, people kind of get out. They want to clean their gardens, they want to clean their gutters, they want to spruce up the house, they want to do painting, they want to get out, do physical activity. So it's a really cool time to think about opportunities that stand in front of us and what could I do to take advantage of that in and around my world. And so this is about understanding there is a season in front of you that you can actually do something different with, and I want to help you have those principles. So here is what would be a place where I would start, and that is I'd like you to review, where are you right now? And what I do in this space, I often encourage my clients on a weekend where it's not as busy, the phone's not ringing, maybe you've got a bit of time where you can get out on the veranda or on the stoop or in the backyard under a tree with a coffee, but with a journal and a pen, and to stop and reflect for an hour and just say to the family, hey, just need an hour, I'm just going to go and do some reflecting time for where I'm going, where the business is going. I just need that little time, and then we'll be back, we'll be going out, we're going to go to a barbecue, we're going to go to the footy, whatever it might be. So to take stock of where you have been and where you are, and what is the dream in your heart of where you would like to go. And so when you do that, what I want you to do is write it down. And by writing it down, in a sense, you're verbalizing it through the tactile method of writing, telling the story back to yourself of what's going on, capturing those thoughts that are in your world that you think about in those in-between moments when you're in between a meeting or in between a conversation or in between a job or in between the workplace and home or in between appointments. These thoughts drop into your world and you think, it would be good if I caught that, thought about that some more, and made some understanding about where I might be this time next year by simply stopping for a season to reflect, review, and think through what has been going on in and around my world. So here's some questions to think about. What went well for me in this last season? What accomplishments did I have? How did I improve my life? How did I improve my relationships? What did I remove from my life? What do I wish I'd taken more time for? I love in my season right now that I'm an empty nester and I get to spend a lot more time with my wife. And so we have longer dinners, longer conversations, and I am so glad that I am taking more time in that space. Our relationship is growing and blossoming and flourishing. And I know in the past, in seasons, I haven't given as much time. So I'm wanting more of that. It's really, really cool. And so when you track those questions, when you're thinking where you have been, where you are, and where you want to go, it will really give you some content to actually work with and something that will give you a real direction. And here is something that will be really cool. Some light bulb moments will actually take place for you. And these are questions, and you probably will think of some of your own questions that will actually help you in that space. Now, here's a challenge. Once you've done that, I want you to think through this thought. What do I need to finish? I find sometimes I talk to some of my clients and they're saying, I'm reading 4 books all at the same time, or I'm in the middle of a painting project, or my bathroom renovation is underway. And oftentimes I find that people don't finish projects that they start, and they get left lying around. It's a book that's unread, it's a wall that's not read, it's a door jamb that's not working. It's like for me, I've got one key to my front door, and so I need to get a new tumbler, put that in. So that's one of those things that I need to finish in my world. So there's projects, there is dynamics going around about us, and I just would encourage you, write a list of what they are, and don't get overwhelmed by it, but just have a look at, and it certainly will challenge you about what it is that you have not yet finished. And it will be really good for you to do that. And here is the interesting thing. The projects that we think we've got to finish, that they're going to take days and weeks and months to do, oftentimes we'll be able to knock off the list that we've written, many of those projects in a very short period of time, and you'll realize, I could have got to this and accomplished this a lot sooner, and why didn't I? And those things happen because we procrastinate. We put off, we get distracted, we think we're busy. And I love some new language that I'm encouraging people to deal with, this language of I'm busy. I want you to become a big person, able to cope with the very real and powerful dynamics around. And what will happen is this. Many of us are married and we have families, and it will inspire them. Hey, Dad's taken up the cause and he's done that. Hey, that's so cool. And he's given time to get that basketball hoop up on the wall so I can play outside. And people around you will value the fact that you have, got up, got going, got moving, and you're actually making a difference for those around and about you. Now, here's often what happens when we do things like this, when we review and get lists of jobs that we need to finish and we're thinking about where we might be going into the future. I want you to understand this. Be realistic. Here's what happens when we're not realistic. We set unrealistic expectations, we deliver here, and we bring disappointment into our world. And so when we are realistic about what is lying in front of us, what happens is we set the bar a lot more achievable, and often we will overachieve what we've actually set for us to do. And that's something that happens over and over again when we are more realistic about the time it will take, about the involvement that's going to be involved with, about the accomplishments we want to set, about the improvements we're going to bring into our life, and those things. So I've just done something in my own world, and that is I really enjoy swimming. I haven't swum for probably a couple of years, and so I get down to the pool twice a week now. And I swam for 500 meters. Now, here's something I know I can't do yet. I'm being realistic. So I did a 200, a 100, a 100, and a 100. But I didn't do them all in sync, one after the other. I swam them, had a break, swam, had a break, swam, had a break. Because I know right now my fitness level, I'm being realistic about my fitness level. I know I would like to do that. I know I've done that in the past, but I know where I am right now. I know I can jump in the pool and swim. I have a good stroke. I enjoy it, and away I go. But I've got to build my ability, my stamina, my internal fortitude, my skill level, and my ability. So last week I only swam in 100-meter sessions. So I've actually upped a little bit, and I did a 200 and then 3 100s. And I'm doing that. I'm being realistic about that, and I know that will change my physique, it will change my physiology, it will change my fitness, and it'll be just jolly good for me and those around and about me. And so when we do that and we set realistic objectives and we actually do them, I tell you what, it feels absolutely fantastic and really, really important. So what I want you to do is break that dream down into realistic portions that you can actually attempt to work on. We're going to be back in just a short while to finish these 5 principles off for you and to help you do business better. Hey everybody, great to be back with you. We've been touching on some principles on how you can do it in your life and get what you want out of life. And I'm really excited to be able to help you do that, because I know when you put these into practice, the change that will take place, because I am a practitioner of these very dynamics. And I really, really do really enjoy that. And I have my own journal. And it's interesting, I used to be very much a writer. Pen and paper. I've got numbers of written journals in my library, but I'm finding right now I'm in an interesting season where I'm writing and using my pad to actually record my interactions with, which I'm fascinated by. But I do that, and I'm a two-finger typer. It's really cool. Type away, write away. It's really, really cool. What we've been talking about on how you really can get out of life what you want, the first area we talked about was reviewing where you're at, where you were, where you are, and where you want to go, and what you're doing. And I gave you a number of questions and encouraged you to think them through, write some of your own, challenged you about doing some finishing. You know, guys particularly, you know, finish those projects. You know, tick them off, get them off that list, and watch the difference that it makes for you. Oh, that just feels great. You know, I said to you, we're about to enter into spring. I've got some couch grass growing through my fence. I've got to dig that out because it kind of gets deep roots, and then so I can actually put my own lawn in that I want to put in. And so that's one of my projects that's coming up real soon, and I'll get that finished, which means I've got to go and buy a good spade so I can dig and get stuck into it. And then, as we've been talking about, not only reviewing and finishing projects, but thinking about where you are going and being realistic with the dreams that are in front of you. Really important to understand. Don't overextend yourselves. Don't be unrealistic. Don't set the bar too high. Set it low enough so it's challenging. Set it low enough so it's inspiring. Set it low enough so it's going to, you know, cause you to put effort in. And then watch the difference that it makes as you get into that space and really work hard. And so what you then do is this: you focus. I love doing this, and I share with people about the importance of using arrows, not shotguns, because shotguns can have anything from 100 to 200 pellets that they send out, and they go everywhere. Whereas you've got an arrow and you set it to the target and you hit it with that arrow, it just feels absolutely fantastic. And that's what focus does for you. That I know in this next 12 months I will read one book a month or one book a week. I know that I will have a date night with my wife every week. I know that I will take out once a month my children on a father and son, father and daughter night. So we'll spend time together talking, sharing and interacting. In fact, I regularly now swim with my eldest son. He loves swimming, I love swimming. Get in the pool, we pound up and down the pool, and it really is great. That focused relationship. Just recently went out with all three of my boys to the footy. We spent the whole lunchtime all afternoon together. It was just a really, really great time. So this is when we take the dreams and we sharpen them into the realities of the outcomes that we're actually wanting. And the challenge for us is that we actually want to deliver specific outcomes for us. And having that clear laser focus is really going to help us do that. And so when you're focused, you know what the dream looks like. You know where you're actually taking yourself. You know where you're going to be going. And remember the questions I asked you earlier? You use them again in this session of thinking about your focus and thinking about where you're going to go. So remember those questions? They were, what went well for me last year that I'm going to be doing better this year? What accomplishments did I do and that I want to actually engage with? So grab those questions, rethink them through, let them create that new future for you, and watch what it takes place. And finally, please understand this. You are the priority. We need to work on ourselves. I recently went to the doctors. I hadn't been for 5 years. Apologies, guys. We need to go on a regular basis. I'm one of those guys that, you know, kind of get putting it off. I'm healthy, I'm fit, I'm doing fine. But the reality's hit that I'm not as healthy and I'm not as fine as I need to be. And my doctor said, I need you to take some omega-3, I need you to take some vitamin D, I need you to lose some weight, I need you to take some sugar out of your diet. And I've done all of that. And I'm really appreciating the value of I need to look after me, because I want to look after me to look after my wife. I want to look after me to look after my business. I want to look after me so I can look after my family and my grandchildren. And just some really hot news. In just 2 weeks ago-ish, my daughter had her second child, Piper Ray, absolutely beautiful. And I want to look after me, so I'm around long term for my grandchildren. And I know I don't look it. It feels great. I've got one of those young faces. It's really cool. You are the priority. And I want you to understand that's what this conversation is about. Work on you. Own your own space. And I have really appreciated, with the encouragement of my wife, to go to the doctors, get checked out, found out that mostly it's okay. Do these things to actually sharpen up what's going on around and about you. And you really will do, John, life better, and you will last longer. And it really is so very, very cool. The reason I brought these to you today is because I know these are the kinds of things I think about. These are the kinds of things I have conversations with my clients about, because I want them to be a much more holistic person and not imbalanced. And when we don't take this kind of time, we do get imbalanced for us, for those that we lead, for our business. And sometimes that's when we find ourselves with ill health, because this is areas that we're not doing well for ourselves. When we do them well, we don't have ill health, we're better balanced, we have a big-hearted nature, we're not being distracted by the busyness, we're more big-hearted. Please take that language on, it really will help you. And I tell you this, when you and I do this as business owners, business operators, you really will do business better.